Greetings and welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G. I'm your host, Dr. G, and I am so glad that you could keep this short notice appointment. Now, tonight, it's just me and possibly our Grand Sheik. He may pop in, but I wanted to give you all some updates. You haven't seen either of us for a while. You probably saw me last week on that interview, but just wanted to give a few updates and let you know what's going to be happening in the next couple of weeks instead of just not coming on. Some of you have been chomping at the bit, so I'm coming on. Not sure how long I'll be on, but I'm actually not in my new studio. I'm at another location, so I don't have my equipment. So if everything sounds a little different and looks a little different, then that's why. All right. Just wanted to come on.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, can I find my? Hey, y'all. I got to stop this music, y'all, because I'm on something else other than what I'm usually on. So the music is just going to keep on playing until I figure out how to shut it off. I'm shutting it off in just a minute. Not that I don't like my music, but hey, how you doing? It's your girl, Dr. G, and as I said, I am not. Let me make sure I'm not being so. Let me make sure you don't. Okay, y'all, let me back up a little bit. I am not in my office. I am at a undisclosed location, but I wanted to come on because I think you all are saying, "What's happening? Where are you guys? Why haven't you? Are you coming on regularly like you're supposed to?" And so forth. Can you hear me, you all? Because I'm on a little tablet. Who's that right there? Let me see if that is. Oh wow. Okay. Guess what, y'all? I'm not gonna be by myself. I just sent our Grand Sheik a link to see if he would come on with me for a minute. And there he is popping in. He's just getting back in town. So let me bring him in to the mix. Let me figure out how to do this. Let me see. Add to the stage. This is different, y'all. I'm not on my there he is. Okay. Grand Chic.
Shalom,
They
Dr.
have
J.
how you doing? It's been I
Pretty
haven't
good.
seen you for like what a few weeks.
hmm
It's
Yeah,
been a few weeks. Let me see.
I'm back,
Let me make
back,
sure.
back in the city for a day or
Oh, wait a
two.
minute. When I lost you, let me get you back on here. We find you. I got the wrong layout. Hold up. You can keep talking. There we are. We're gonna talk. How
Yeah,
you
I'm
doing?
back. Yeah, I'm back in the city. I'm rarely home.
Right.
Yeah,
So we
so
haven't yet.
I got a new cat that's
Oh,
knocking on my
okay.
door.
Okay.
That's where I was.
I know you have been gone for such a long time that your cats moved on, didn't they?
Yeah, I
Or did
got
they
two
come?
new ones. Two new ones. When I first talked to you, I was
Yeah,
out there. Yeah, so one cat came. She been knocking on the door, and so another one came. So I was sitting on the step keeping them company and feeding them.
Oh wow, well, good. I'm glad to see that. Hear that you're back. You see where I am, right?
Yes.
So okay, all right then. All right. So I decided to come on, and I was just going to kind of give an update. And I don't even know. Folks are asking, and maybe you know, but they're asking before we go any further about do we have any update on Consul General Lamont? I don't personally have any.
Oh yeah. I talked to him this week. He's home.
He is home.
Oh shit. Yeah.
Okay. See, because
Yeah.
I didn't know. All
Yeah.
right.
We're talking on other levels. You already know because you already know
Right.
that his capture was a political act. You know that, and I know it,
Mm-hmm.
but the masses don't know that.
Right.
However, you know, the Manchurian families are doing certain things to counter.
Right.
Because, as noted, even though our people don't know it, the rest of the world is watching.
Right. 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 Right.
And while they're doing their hegemony operation to keep the people intimidated, whereas we have limited defense here, that the rest of the Asiatic nations are coming together. Now we also have, I just got a note yesterday, we have they call a Council of 77, which is actually more than that, which includes a lot of the other true Americans in the South are now coming on board, joining on with BRICS to counter.
Okay.
So
Okay.
a lot of what the operations they've been doing to intimidate or try to suppress the constitutional enforcement of the Moors at North America is now being countered by the rest of the world. And so in some ways, while we are encouraging the people to remain active, at the same time, you can also get popcorn and soda and watch the movie.
Wow. Well, listen, before we go any further, y'all, since it's not just me, I want to make sure that you press, we need those likes up and definitely share because I didn't put down here that Grand Sheik was going to be on here with me. So maybe somebody, should be on here. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to talk about, but I wanted to come on because Grand Sheik, as you know, I've kind of been both of us have been out of our respective towns, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
in the last couple of weeks. You've been working out of town, and I had the opportunity to make a little impromptu trip to Key West, as you
Yeah,
see. And it was amazing, and it was a prelude to my real vacation, which starts on Friday. So
yes.
and I'll be gone for 10 days. So I wanted to make sure that and sister Cynthia and I will be together. So we will probably try to do some on location stuff while we're away,
Mm-hmm.
but just on the off chance that we get so caught up in in being over there in the Midwest that maybe, I just wanted the folks to know that we have not abandoned them.
Oh,
We
man.
will, we will, I will actually be back. I know with a guest, my next guest will be I told you, brother Abdullah, to leave Mosi Bay, and I'm excited about that interview on the 3rd of October. He's going to
Great.
be my guest, and I'm excited about the topic that he's going to share. But then you will be on that Friday. Um,
Yes.
to do our first Friday, and we'll kind of be back on schedule. But the other thing we want, before we go any further, we want to stress to you all, those of you who've been traveling, to come for the fourth Friday live, in person, so I can, where you come to the House of Reawakening Minds. We will not be there this fourth Friday, so we don't want
Yeah.
anybody,
Yeah.
incurring any.
Especially, yeah, all the miles a lot of people have been traveling. We don't want them to. Yes.
Right, right. So I'll say that's some housekeeping, got that out of the way. So anyway, there are some questions probably you all have. I see one already. Because you mentioned that the other nations, if you will, with the situation with BRICS. Here's a question. How can the BRICS nations help us fight our situation here? Do we petition them for assistance?
By your actions. Remember, a lot of what we've been doing over the years has actually inspired a lot of the nations to act. Keep in mind the way our people look at the history here and the politics. We look at the politics from a constricted perspective, and a minimalist perspective, because the people here, don't know that we're at the hub of this whole thing. That
Mhm.
the reason why the rest of the world is having their problems because the problem started here. And so the issue is when the Moors started speaking up and trying to enforce the Constitution and the treaties. Keep in mind, and this is where a lot of people don't comprehend where we're coming from. A lot of people thought that we were trying to, or activate or reestablish, i.e., treaty and Constitution in the civic operations. The real deal is It's a chess move to force them to show their hand. Because remember, the power that the dark priesthood have and has had is because we've been supporting them, not because we're really trying to make them, as many people assume, activate proper government. We know that's not going to happen. But we have to make the move to show our hand for them to show their hand by making a counter move, which they have been doing, which is why they've been openly and not indirectly suppressing the Moors or the active Moors. The purpose is for the people to lose faith in the system, because the system is sucking off of them. They don't know that there's a metaphysical side of this whole thing. They think it's just, political actions here and there, not knowing that they were actually the energy batteries for the operations of the Khazarians. But by us being active, and most people who really understand the metaphysical or the spiritual side don't want to make that sacrifice, because they know that the Rome operations here is full of demons. And so they fear the demons, or what is commonly known in its political platform as the U.S. democracy, because they know they have a history of torturing people, sacrificing children, breaking up families, and also using the fiat weapon in order to suppress people, which they've been using against the nations too. And so the nations were, encouraged when we started, in spite of the counteractions by the Khazarians, when we started being active, particularly through the Order of the Great Seal, and trying to reestablish, i.e. Article 3 courts, which is the proper venue of our communications, we knew that it would activate them. And in doing so, they not only was exposing their hand because they didn't want the people to become conscious and active, it activated actually the rest of the world to recognize that the heirs of the estate were speaking up, and therefore knowing that in accord with law and international law, that the operatives of the Circle Church and Chancery would have to blatantly show their hand by oppressing us. That was a signal to the rest of the world, it's time to act. And this has much to do with the BRICS activity that the people think is just on the exterior side. No, much of it, almost everything that's going on in the world is all eyes directed here at North America, under or at the fake de facto jurisdiction known as United States Corporation Company, who have been pretending to be Americans. This is why you always see them saying in the same sentence, the U.S., and then they'll say America, and U.S., and then they'll say America, when that don't go together. So that they're making the astute claim when they make those statements. So the rest of the world is activated because we've been activated. And so in order to save themselves, they have to expose the information. This is, again, why you see, as we talked about before, a lot of the so-called middle-class hybrid Europeans here at North America have been exposing a lot of the politics because they didn't expect to get thrown under the bus. But what you see happening with BRICS, and now with the Committee of 77.
Yeah, somebody asked about that. So can you address that? Someone just asked about that.
It's actually about 120. It's actually about 121 nation states, although they'll keep the title of 77. Now, the 77, has a metaphysical meaning. That's why they're keeping that 7. All right. So, and it includes many of your nation states in the South, or what you call the true Americans, i.e. the copper-colored people, or the Bantu, Mandinka, Phoenici tribes, known as from Chile on up to Greenland, whether they're called Indians or Peruvians or Argentinians or Brazilians or Belize, all of them. They're coming together to counter unum sanctum operations, which, as we talked about the last time we met, the hybrid European hegemony, commonly called by people who don't know what's really going on, they've been blindly calling it white supremacy. That's the surface code. The real code is unum sanctum operations, which we talked about before. So BRICS is actually a counter move to unum sanctum operations and is demonstrated in the Circle 7 as, quote unquote, the uniting of Asia. In other words, it's a prophetic manifestation.
Let me ask you this. So, some might say if the target is against the U.S. and we are
So
at
you got to
the U.S.
remember when this is what people need to keep their minds clear. When you say the U.S., you're saying unum sanctum.
Right.
It's
But
sort of
when
like
right, but
we
we
got
as
the
the
whole West.
Americans, what I'm
Yeah,
saying, Grand Sheik, is that as Americans, um, we appear to be a part of it, but we know we're not. Do they know we're not?
now
Do they see us
remember,
as being colonized and being, have our
yeah.
power usurped, and we need to be freed from this tyranny? Do they
All
see
right,
that?
so now let's look at this. And it's not like we didn't talk about it. This is back to people beginning to really understand the metaphysical side of the Moorish movement. Remember when we talked and I said a lot of people sometimes misunderstand over the years, over the decades, why I've always focused on civics.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've mentioned that there's a spiritual side of civics that people don't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what I've been working on. Because what I've been doing is making metaphysical moves. People who don't understand it think I'm trying to reestablish, i.e., the quote unquote de jure or legitimate government operations. No, that's never been what I really intend. I know that's how a lot of people view or thought that I was reaching for. No, I never expected that because I'm looking on, I've been operating always on another dimension, always from door. But I also know that to say it, people don't get it. No, in other words, if people aren't already what you call um, dimensional in their thinking, that they wouldn't understand it anyway, and they would counter it, thinking that it's a waste of time, if you get the point, or
Mm-hmm.
thinking that it's non-productive, when I'm actually looking on a totally different level, always have been. And what I'm looking at, I already expected to start taking place, which is why I always told you over the years what would happen. But I was looking on another dimension, not on this dimension. And so it's the nations, i.e., which still, keep in mind, are extended Asiatic tribes. You keep in mind all the land of Gaia we always called Asia. So we're first Asiatics.
Right.
We Asiatics later created what is known as Africa. Africa ain't our beginning. Asia is. But people who don't know the real history logically don't look at their history from a metaphysical point of view. They look at it from a data point of view. And when they're operating from that point of view, that keeps them locked into what you call a concept dimension that is actually limited. So you can't argue with people like that, or you don't try to convince them. You just have to do the work because you have limited time.
You have a lot of people who are clinging to the one side. We have this one bird, two wings situation, and we know there's corruption on both sides, but we know a lot of
Exactly. In
corruption.
other words, a
We,
lot of our suffering, a
but I'm
lot of
saying,
our suffering here,
no,
past
what I'm
and present.
no. What I'm trying to say is I'm hearing a lot more of commentary, again, coming out from that other side, that left side, and
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to play on the heartstrings of our people once
Mm-hmm.
again by shining the light on, one of theirs to say that they're not
Yeah, like
for us,
yeah,
but they are,
mo-
when we know that we've been food for them all along.
exactly. In other words, like this, like Drew Ali said, he said, "I don't make the European tell you the truth." He said, "However, I don't trust those forms."
Right.
But remember, like we said before, years ago, they're telling the truth because they didn't expect to get thrown under the bus. So a lot of things that they've been saying in these last say 10, 15 years, like Anna von Rees and others who acted as attorney assistant for the Pope of Rome, they trying to save themselves. Because
Mm-hmm.
remember, most of the hybrid Europeans knew the real history. Our people didn't. And this is why a lot of times, even when the hybrid Europeans started telling some of the truth, the people who didn't understand start calling them anti-government and thinking that they're out to lunch.
Yeah.
Except that, as you can see in these last, particularly in these last couple of years, not even the last 5 or 10, the last couple of years, particularly when they executed the bio war against our people openly, they've always been instituting it. But when they became open with their bio war, known as the COVID operations, you know what I mean? They have less time to keep programming, or what you would call hide their activities under programming. And when the middle class hybrid Europeans recognized they could no longer blame their quote unquote job problems on Mexicans and other Americans taking their quote unquote jobs, and they can't play that game anymore, they started to tell the truth because they didn't think that they were going to be thrown under the bus. But the deal of it is, while they're doing that, and then when you have in the last, say, 25 years or so, when many of the active Moors started activating the rudder and sextants and the limited jurisdictional operations of the Moorish divan under the Great Seal, it became obvious that many of the Moors here were conscious of the true history and government, which is actually 360-degree Masonic knowledge. Because remember, here they only give 32, 33 in honor.
Mm-hmm.
But this is where you see some of the registered or locked up information under the AA 222141, registered in the Library of Congress with CN Bay. When we started sharing with people who never had an opportunity to have the certification, to have that information in their hand, we started giving it to the people freely. And of course, during the last couple of decades, even people who are part of the Order of the Great Seal, were actually angry at me for sharing that information because it was not supposed to be in the people's hands if they don't have them degrees. So I went against the grain and made it freely available to people who I knew would never get this information. And logically, that created a situation where we are being attacked from both sides, if you get the point.
Right.
Which included people who are what you call COINTELPRO operatives. But we survived a lot of that, and information got to the point where you have people from outside, started pushing the information, including, about 12 years ago or more, when the two brothers and a sister from Palestine flew to New York to visit me to take information back. And also when the ambassador of Ecuador sent a couple of emissaries to see me at New York at the Rotunda, and so a lot of information was taken back. Plus, when I used to take we used to go to those tours at Washington, D.C., some Chinese people came among us and was taking pictures, and they were, they knew me. I didn't know them, but they were taking pictures. So the world has been paying attention, but I always knew they were.
Yes.
It the whole point. And because we're small and we operate from a humble platform, people kind of underestimate the reality that the world has always been watching us. They've been waiting for the heirs to wake up because we're a signal on both the third dimension and actually on the high fourth and fifth dimensional level, on a metaphysical level, that the heirs are waking up. That's a signal to the rest of the world. Because remember, their estate is tied to our estate. Because remember, before they fell, we fell. And so the problem of the Khazarian operation to conquer the world, the root of their real power came from after the fall of the Moors, or what you call the Columbus military operations, known as the Doctrine of Discovery, sealed as Columbus discovering America, which is a military operation, not so much a man, which you already know. But the deal of it is the energy level has risen to the level that has wakened up many of the heirs of the world. And so they know that we have been disarmed. And they know that many of our matriarchs here have been colored under the Christian black codes for so many generations. And this is why you see the hybrid Europeans have been making in the last year or so this concerted effort to damage and to destroy the reputation of the Asiatic woman here as being unworthy to womanhood, if you get the point. When you see all these attacks on women that they're unworthy to mate with, and that they're destructive to femininity and everything, to destroy her culture, her view in the eyes of us, her mate and her sons, in order to accelerate the what you call the genocide operation, where we don't come to each other's defense because we're at the hub of this whole thing. And while our people don't know it, the rest of the world knows it. And so you have many of the Naga and the Bantu tribes and the Phoenicians of the north that you will call the Manchurian families, that you will call Chinese. They know the real Asiatic history, unlike the people here. And so they know in order to save themselves, they must also help to save us. That's what BRICS is about, beyond what people think. So remember, the fiat is not an argument of whether there's money or not. The people who are thinking on a third dimensional level, thinking money, real money or gold and silver, it ain't that. That's the weapon of the hegemony operations. That is the weapon. And so they're dismantling the weapon.
Okay, makes sense. That makes sense. Because, in reality, when you think about the things that money allegedly helps you acquire, those money doesn't make those things. The energy to make those things come from people, from us.
See, the energy,
it is our creativity and our current. Yeah.
The currency is the electrical system of the manifest form.
Right.
The action of the movement or the velocity of the energy of the electrical form is called currency. The movement of it is called what? It's called bloodletting. It's called birthright theft. Okay. It is a registry of energy output from biomechanical beings, which is us. It's not a movement of money. It's a movement of human energy.
Right. Human capital. Human capital. Yes.
The fiat is the disguise. It's a bookkeeping system. It has nothing to do with money whatsoever. But the constant mention of money keeps people projecting money, 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 and it never was and is not, never was money. It's movement of human energy output on both a physical and a metaphysical level. And keep in mind that the Manchurian families know this and know that most of the people still don't get it when they're talking about fiat. It's a weapon. It is a spiritual weapon manifest on the physical plane to maintain unum sanctum operations. So the attack is on a metaphysical level. The other issue is that we're actually being prepared. Remember what we talked about years ago, and I keep reminding people that to the degree that they will admit to, not to what is, but what they will admit to, that they set humanity back over 500 years.
Yeah.
They'll admit to that. Now, in order for ancient, not modern, ancient technology that's been operating with the Khazarians since the mid-1800s, that has given them the keys to the power of Egypt for the last 100 and some odd years, is going to start being exposed back to the heirs of the estate. Therefore, it is our duty to dismantle this system. The system lives because our people have blind faith in it. The hybrids have continued their power because we won't let them go, i.e., what is coded as We won't render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Therefore, BRICS is an aid coming from the outside, from the east, even into the west, to break the spell, help us break the spell. When we started showing that we were willing to let Rome go, that's a signal to the priests on the other side that we're ready to be redeemed. That's all it is. And all BRICS and the Committee of 77, all that represents the same thing, that the uniting of Asia and the Asiatic world is coming together to dismantle the weapon system of the Khazarian operatives of the dark priesthoods or demons on the planet, i.e., this is why in these last couple of years I started sending signals out and calling them hybrids, because I know that they're hybrids.
Mm-hmm.
And they know that they're hybrids. But most of our people don't know that they're hybrids. Not that we all here that's on at Midgard, everybody here has been modified. That's not even an issue. That's the reality.
And a lot of times people think that, you know, we are in our original state. And I believe that from time to time there have been mass upgrades in our consciousness, in our ability.
Those hybrids are hybrids of, or what you call the vestige of, some people might want to call them demons, but just call them hybrids, whose mission is to claim godship at Midgard. That, to put it on a political level, the claiming of godship at Midgard. That would be demonstrated in Thessalonians 1 and 2. Also in the book of Mark, where Yeshua referred to them, claiming to be somebody that they're not. They're all one and the same. They're the hybrids. They, in other words, they have declared themselves gods of Midgard. That's all their politics is based on that and in that. And the fiat system is a weapon that's operating on the physical third dimensional plane, but has fourth dimensional energy, which is why it's been difficult for the people to overcome it. But the fact that people keep calling it money, they don't know that on a high fourth dimension, they were giving it energy, because the people don't know how the vampires actually work. You know, and this is back to what we talked about very often, Dr. G.
Can I interject just a moment before you go there? I was looking at something, I believe today, and I'm not even sure what it was. It popped up on YouTube. But the thing that I believe it was Dre OG Reacts, I think. And somebody was saying about how cyclically, you know, over a cycle, that these beings that say we would call vampires, because you mentioned vampires, they regroup and they kind of devour those that they could devour, while those who have knowledge of them go underground, because on a cycle that these kind of beings kind of have you know, cyclically come through and destroyed as many, you know, unknowing people that they could. Now, do you know anything about that? Because I was thinking in terms of not even just sucking the blood, but taking the life. Because in the last month or so,
right,
how long has it been? We have Maui, we have Libya, we have some other things that have happened.
Maui is one of the obvious.
Yeah.
Now
we have Morocco, Maui, Morocco, Libya, and a massive loss of life.
All right, let's give an example. Just in most that will be coming out, but it's only because people are waking up, meaning that they're starting to release Rome. Because remember, the power of Rome is in the mind of the victim. It is not unlike a spider that injects a venom into the carcass or into the body of an insect, and it starts to dissolve from the inside, and then the spider sucks the substance or the essence, then drops the carcass. This is not unlike, this is that principle of the Black Widow is what's demonstrated, what you'll see on the fiat, on the note of what they call the dollar bill oxymoron, and you'll see the spider webs in all corners.
Mhm.
That's what that signal is. But that's a metaphysical signal, and people handle it and don't see it. And then you'll see each one of the ones standing for the four corners of the earth. You'll see all of them are not circular, where the one is, they're ovoid, representing zygote or an egg or
Mhm.
an ovum. And then you'll see the right-hand corner, it's a shield of heraldry, which means an inheritance. And so in the northeast corner, that is the birthright of the real heirs. All of this is coming out on that's already left the fourth dimensional level and is entered already in the low area of the fifth dimensions. And so the people, whether they like it or not, are awakening. So it's a metaphysical evolution. The issue with us is to keep things agitated in order to keep things stirred up, not to restore what was, although it may appear that way, because what was will never be again.
That's
But
true.
we have to go there in order to aggravate the people, to make them give up their dreams of that which would not be. In other words, it's sort of like this. We had to cause on another level a chess move to cause the dark priesthood to move to counter us, thinking that we were trying to restore the republic. You get the point? With the civic activity, which is a principle of directive of right and de facto of de jure restoration. But they believe that, but that never has really been our goal, because we already know it can't be done. Not that it can't be done, but it is a past cycle. It's an evolution of past cycle. We're not trying to restore that. We're
Right.
actually helping to clear the way to bring the people into the fifth and lower sixth dimension of reality, which kills the priesthood. That's what they didn't expect, because they thought that we were trying to restore the republic. No, we weren't. That's what they thought, because the concentration on civics gives that appearance. We're already past that, but we already know the people. If you say that to the people, they wouldn't understand it. And also, if you say that to the priesthood, they already know you move. So you move it like that's where you, in other words, it's a feint. And so again, I repeat, BRICS and Committee 77 is all totally related from the east even unto the west, of the order of the Great Seal to the light, to the pinnacle.
You've
That's
often
what it
mentioned
is.
you've often mentioned the Manchurians and the Brotherhood and of the
Yeah, white dragon and
right.
yellow dragons. Yes,
Yeah.
we know there's green dragon and
Where are they
blue.
standing in this bricks and this situation and this bringing down of this?
They're pretty much what you would call it. It is not what you call a head in the sense that we generally looked at things, but it is sort of like an initiator uh, kind of guidance, if you get the point, even through their flaws. Because remember, they got to work out their flaws too and their shortcomings too. However, they've come enough or entered enough on the higher fifth dimensional level to bring some of that energy. Because remember, all things are manifest through the fourth. There's
Okay.
yeah, it doesn't come like from third to like fifth and stuff like that. Everything manifests through the fourth, so we have to work those problems out, which is what we've been doing. And so we've been enduring a lot of the oppression, or what you call the sacrifice, for those who didn't have courage, to the point that those who understood, who recognized the evolution of humanity at Midgard, recognize it's a signal to them. In other words, the reality, through all of our flaws and our shortcomings, we had to show enough good intention to be worthy to actually raise the dimensional level and evolutionary level of the humans here at the North Gate, who most of us who have lost our way, if you get the point.
You know, it is the most amazing time, really, to be on manifest on the planet, because we have seen we have come through some things. Those of us who have any level of age, amount of age to us, we know what it was, and now we see what it is, and we can see what it will be in the same, if you will. You have that Bible scripture talked about how they did not live to see the promise, or Moses didn't get to see over, or to experience that. And I think we have an opportunity if we don't fear, if we don't
And
crumble
the
under
same
fear.
thing, yeah. What you're saying right now is what the 33-degree Martin was mentioning when he said, I might not get
I'm
there with
there
you,
with you. Mm-hmm.
but we as a people, he was talking to the dark priesthood.
He
He was
was
talking
saying,
to
you might
people,
take me down,
he,
but you won't take us
he
all
was
down.
talking to the priesthood.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, all Masons already knew and know that that crown of the sun that they wear in all those lodges is the Moorish fez. They know that the reason the rest of the world fell is because we fell. But we also had to pay, or would you have enough what you call sacrificial compensation for us having supported Rome through all these decades, meaning that we have fought all his wars that kept him in power on the land, not unlike red tails and things like that. And so we had to pay for that. This is why you see me over the years, I would always say people, relative to our people, and I would always, criticize our people for continuing to fight those wars for them against their own blood, and then come here and wonder why they keep on lacking their liberties, thinking that as if the metaphysical or that the what you would call the energies on other dimensions, or that our ancestors wasn't going to punish us for that. Whatever made these people think they were going to get away with that, keep serving Rome, then complaining about Rome, what Rome does. So on the metaphysical side, they're not arguing with us. They let us suffer in our nigger juice. So we don't like that too good, do we? And the deal of it is that enough energy or sacrifice has been made, and enough of the people have shown themselves worthy of the restoration of the estate. This is why the hybrids have concentrated, in particular in these last 30 or 40 years, to do as much as they can to disarm the people, so that we would not be able to fight back, so that they could go to people's houses, women and children, or even in their cars on the street, and literally murder them on the street to intimidate the people. And most of our people would willingly go back into the black codes for what they would think is safety, when there is no safety. Long as Rome rules, humanity dies, if you get the point. It's just that they're slow walking them. But the deal of it is, now they're not hiding anything. They're just blatantly showing their corruption. And in doing so, the people have lost faith in them. And so now that the people have lost faith in them, the spells that they cast, it's easier for the people to see through them. And that many people have made the sacrifices to counter them. It has shown the rest of the world that we're willing to let Rome go. And so again, BRICS has a metaphysical side, not just a political side. People are thinking monetary and trade. Well, there's another level that they have yet to see.
Wow. So that's from a standpoint.
This includes exposure of ancient technology that the people think is new, and it ain't new, including what is called zero grade. Yes, we're talking about zero grade. Like when you look in the questionnaire and Jawali say, Allah, who's Allah? Allah is Aught.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Aught is actually zero grade energy point, where you deal with anti-gravity and what you call limitless energy from atmosphere. You remember about 10 years ago when we was at the House of Reawakening Minds, and I said that they already know that we had energy packs about the size of say a bar of candy, or that size, that can run energetically from the atmosphere the electrical needs of a whole block or house continuum. That's a fact. In other words, like in the dark priesthood is trying to do is they're trying to maintain the energy drain of humanity, which they would call smart meters, whether it's on accounts or electricity or water and all this stuff. And the other deal is that the members of the Circle Church and Chancery, which head these operations of earth depletion, are now being countered by the Manchurian, mainly the White Dragon family. It's also some of the yellow. I don't know about the green. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know about the green, but I know the yellow and mainly headed by the Naga of the White Dragons and some of the yellow dragons of the Manchurian families. If you really know, they're really Phoenici. In other words, they're us. You know, what they'll show you, what they will show you, usually in newspapers and in books, they'll show you mostly the lighter complexioned Manchurians called Chinese, but the real Manchurians look like you and me. And most of those who really the ones who control the gold. And particularly, you got to keep in mind, part of the debt operations of the callback deals with the Manchurians commanding the restoration of the gold that the Khazarian operators have been using, which I mentioned years ago, since 1954, that was actually sent here to help us, and that was actually usurped by the U.S. corporation government under the guise of the U.S. democracy and squandered. And that's how they've been operating here in North America since 1954.
Was it in the Eisenhower administration where
Absolutely.
there was a visitation and an offer to provide technology that would
absolutely,
and they opted for weapons of war instead of
absolutely.
But okay.
That's the congressional. They'll say the industrial military complex. That's a lie. It's called the Congressional Industrial Military Complex, which is the Jesuit army operatives for the Unum Sanctum Continuum at the Maghreb, i.e., known as the Great Masonic Secret. That's it. That's what's being countered now across the planet. So while, in other words, we're not to sit down on our laurels, but understand we got help.
That would be my next question. What are we to do?
Help.
What are we to do? What should we be doing in light of what's going on a global scale?
Because remember, the real fight is metaphysical.
Right.
It's based on the sincerity of the people. Remember, over the last few years, because all of us continue to grow, right? And remember, as you were over the last couple of years doing some of your even recent travels of your sojourn of awakening, and you say, should I do this and should I do that? Or should I join this? And I was talking to these people and I said, do it all. It's part of your learning, even though I've already told you. Right. Because when you walk it, you will see what I've been saying. True. What is it for? Because you can't separate the wheat from the chaff until you've seen both sides.
That's true.
So why? So that you can recognize deception. So you can see those who are in what? Wolf in sheep's clothing and vice versa. While at the same time shedding your own lower self. Because remember, the fight is not only without, is within. And so while we're suppressing our own carnal self, you're dealing with others who are vampiring on you at the same time. We're trying to keep you in that lower carnal. Because remember, the key to the Khazarian operations is that we keep supporting it. In other words, we keep paying tithe in the name of tax. All the taxes are tithe, but the people don't know that. Keep that in mind. So the people been funding Rome while complaining about what Rome was doing. No different than, the the issue of fiat has multiple layers. And the people in general keep thinking gold or silver, and there's no money. That kind of concept. That is shallow shit. That is sort of like, it's not to be dismissed, but it's the shallow level of it. It is not the power level. The power level is metaphysical.
So, would you suggest also, among other things, that people will get more into a mindset of meditation, um,
Exactly.
breathing,
Exactly.
breathing exercises, eating
Exactly.
and drinking pure, the things that we need to do to
Exactly. Now,
vibrate on a higher level to
let
be
me
able to be meet
let
what's
me say, let me say this in conjunction to what you're presenting right now.
all right.
Excuse me
That's
for
okay.
interrupting, because I
No,
have
no,
a
no.
habit of doing that because I'm looking at your thoughts while I'm talking to you.
I know
So,
you are.
so excuse me.
I
So you
know
got,
you.
so you have to excuse that. It's not that I'm not listening; is that I'm seeing your thoughts before they pour, kind of like. So I apologize for that because I know it can be irritating sometimes.
But Grish,
You
I
know,
love you. So we work
but
so close together, and
but now, but this is the
it's
deal.
not a problem.
But this is the deal. Is that a lot of the different disciplines that have been shown to the people, you know, the metaphysical, the Reiki, the healing, and all of those disciplines that we promote, you got to remember that most of the people that have gravitated to those areas in the same, particularly in the last 20, 25 years, the most of them have gravitated to those areas with the financial energy at the forefront, not understanding their real power is the sincerity level, meaning that this is where we are. To try to kind of put it in another way, it is not to reject that a servant is worthy of his hire. I'm not rejecting that. I understand that. But what the people need to comprehend, that the real energy is projected through sincerity. A lot of the other things that were done was ritual reminders. Like when we use the cards or something like that, or we
Hmm.
go through the
Pendulums and
systems, we go through the
divination.
yoga, we go through the yoga systems of meditation, and all of that is exercise. The real deal of it is sincerity supersedes all of it. Meaning
Yeah.
that a being who is sincere can do it without showing any outside indications whatsoever. And because many have gotten to that level is really what's changing the world. It is not even all those disciplines in the ritual area. Doesn't mean I'm not dismissing it. Don't miscomprehend where I'm coming from.
Mhm.
The real work is done unseen. Meaning a being who's really praying, you wouldn't even know that they're praying. They could be cooking some spaghetti and projecting one of the most powerful prayers that the being could recognize. But the people's eyes will be on the person that's sitting in the corner, going through all kind of rituals and burning a candle and, opening up the curtains to the light of the sun and purifying water. All that's good. The ones who really know, you could walk down the street and could be casting and breaking spells, the most powerful of all of them, with mere sincerity. And that's where we're going to now. That's why the priesthood can't win, because that's not what they were looking for. They're looking for the rituals. They got fooled.
Yeah, when you look at the ancient, I'm reminded about the fact that things being written in stone, and we in church we said, if these don't praise me, the very rocks will cry out. And I've changed that. If these don't acknowledge me, because I don't think
Mhm.
it's about praise. I'm thinking if certain ones would try to hide the reality of what has been written in stone as a memorial to the things that have since been, rewritten, if you will. If you
Mhm.
don't do it, these very rocks themselves will cry out. So you can look at the hieroglyphs or even the carvings, not even the hieroglyphs, the ones that are obviously beings and so forth, and see technology, even though you see maybe beings that look like they've been some experiment gone awry. The technology, you see watches like this on the arms of folks. You see everybody, a lot of them carrying what looks like a pocketbook, which is probably some kind of device, because a lot of times they had it. You
Like
see,
when you seen the pictures of Drew Ali with the bag on the shoulder,
I don't know if
look
I
at
remember that
look
picture.
at look at not the ones that's showing his face, but look ones that would show him in his total form,
Hmm.
and you'll see that bag with the strap around his shoulder.
Hmm.
That's that bag that he called the bag of tricks.
Oh wow. Okay.
That's the bag that you're talking about.
I mean, because you see that. I mean, you see
You'll see
what I
it
said.
from time immemorial.
Yeah.
It
And we didn't see a lot of these things. It's interesting how when you're blinded from the truth, when you've been, indoctrinated in certain things, something could be right in your face and you don't see it. And then the
that's why
blinders come away
Yahshua
and
said
then you
they
go,
have
it's right in front of you.
eyes. They
And
have
see, I
eyes
don't
and
see
cannot see. They have
and don't see.
ears and cannot hear.
Right.
But keep in mind, this is again why the Khazarians have always modified the books so that when the people started getting some of that Berber culture, they would turn around and then start dismissing it because he tampered with them, accrediting them to him, if you get the point, and thinking that they were run to safety to reject it. The real deal is his intents of deceiving the people were actually traps for himself. And that's the real truth. That's what's happening now. This is why, like when we talked before, and I said, we know that people are going to play that game about there is no Jesus. We already knew that.
Hmm.
But we also know that the code is justice.
Right.
But they didn't know that. They think that we're talking about the man. But the deal of it is the metaphysical. And see,
Hmm.
so justice has come anyway while they thought they was trapping it. In other words, the trappers set a trap for us and they stepped in the hole. And not so much that our people willingly are accepting the truth. He's kicked their asses so much that they're being forced to accept the truth.
Yeah.
And he ain't hiding it no more. He's still lying, but he's lying blatantly, meaning that they don't even do programs to try to veil the truth. They just lie in your face. And even though some people, because they don't want to let this third dimensional energy go, they know it's a lie and still will hold on to it. But that shows where their heart is. See, that's where the separation comes in. And this is why you don't take it personal when you see people doing dark side stuff, because that's their will. Because remember, the ultimate balance is that there's still evil goes nowhere. It just got to be brought back in balance.
True. Yep.
And so this is why, like when the Septuaginta say, your right arm offend you, cut it off. That means if you start taking it personal, it can take you out. But if you love but don't get attached, you can still hold your arm if you get the point. Why? Because everybody's responsible to this, just like you are. This is why it says, every man, every woman, and every child, even the children, must. It didn't say maybe. It didn't say good idea. You say must confess their own. So what it's telling you is that the spirit has no body, doesn't it? That means the body is not what you need to look at. You need to look at the spirit only, because it has no age. Because if you get caught just in the third dimensional level, you get deceived.
That's true. That is so
Mhm.
true. That is so true. And I see it. Like I said, I listen to some of the various news casts that are, I guess they call themselves I don't know what the left, and I almost like want to put my finger in my throat and I go, because folks are really believing
Yeah,
this stuff.
yeah.
It's like, oh my, and I remember, the couple of years that you and I spent, um, when before they took people down and off and out, because we know some that
Mhm.
went out, disappeared, that were very active in telling the truth, even if it was because for their own agenda, they were still exposing the truth.
Yes.
Um, so we got the opportunity to hear what was being said out there, while at the same time getting what was being said in here, so that you could make an informed decision, so that you could get balance, so that you would know, okay, you would let your spirit. Oops, y'all, let me see, maybe we lost him.
Yeah,
Let me
you're
see if I
back.
can get it
You're
back in
back.
here.
You're back.
Hold up.
You're back on me.
Okay, I got you back. So, we know that so many things that we were listening to, what I was saying is that you wanted the opportunity to get a balanced look at this, the pro, the con, weigh them out,
Yes.
and get a gut, can come to a gut conclusion, because ultimately that's where the first brain is anyway.
Hmm.
You feel in your gut. And we got so many, we had so many aha moments, and so many, and it wasn't about color, it was just about truth.
Exactly. Because remember, color is falsehood.
Right.
Is a prima facie, a simulacrum, distinguished from that which is real.
Right. Right. Right.
So we already know that. And this is why people need to really comprehend that law books deal with the etymology, or the mother true meaning of words, which is
Hmm.
again why they by deliberate operations have always denied law dictionaries and law encyclopedias out of the hands of our people, to help maintain the connotative linguistics operations of the General Education Board of the Rockefellers and the Gates of Foundation, to keep the people under animal husbandry training.
Right.
Which is why when we're talking, we mention all these things, because these are tools.
Hmm.
Like most people, when we talk about animal husbandry, they're not thinking fiat. That's part of the fiat system.
Yeah.
The lack of etymology is part of the fiat system. They keep thinking it's just the monetary system. Dogma is part of the fiat system. That's why we remind people of the three M's. What? Missionary, mercenary, military. That's how they operate.
Right. Right. And most people, a lot of people don't realize, especially for people who are steeped in religious dogma, they don't realize that religion was weaponized and used, that they were
That's
that it was a
dogmata.
weapon.
That's
They they
dogmata.
they dogma, so they just feel, the emotion that has been attached to it, and they completely are oblivious to the fact that there is, somebody's foot is on their neck.
The
That a sword,
emotion,
that
because
people
remember,
came to this conclusion at the edge of a sword, our people, and not because they had this great, uh, you know, if you will,
remember
feeling for this savior.
the people were trained, and particularly our people here at the Maghreb, have always been trained that our emotions equal spirituality.
Absolutely.
This is why you see, whenever you go in the houses, most of the houses that our people have been trained in, you see our people get all emotional, really high levels of emotions. because
Mm-hmm.
that was the training because the part of the training was to convince the people that emotional response equated spirituality, when actually it's actually a diversion. It's a placebo for spirituality. And
Right.
so
Right.
this is where you see the customary activities among our people. They're already always, in heavy emotional tearing and hollering in the name of prayer to connect, when the real connection is almost silence, if you get the point.
Do you remember when I started doing nature church?
Yes.
That going out every Sunday and the people who followed me, my live on Facebook, going through, Brandywine and walking and
Oh,
getting
yeah.
close to
In that beautiful
nature,
atmosphere.
that I began to feel closer. My emotions, my feelings for others, the intensity of what I would say the experience would have been was so much more real in that setting than it
Hmm.
ever was in a building, with pews and
Yeah.
pulpits and me standing up there preaching or being preached to. It was such a you felt connected. I felt
In
connected. So when
harmony
I
because you were
yeah,
closer
so
to
when I got
nature.
injured, that was devastating to me because walking 3-4 miles on a Sunday through the woods was my thing,
Yeah.
and that was my spirituality. It became the truth of what spirituality is,
Yes.
breathing and connecting. And so, and I really felt that was something that gave me my boost. That's what took me higher,
Hmm.
especially when,
Hmm.
all the folks were gone and it was just me and nature.
Yeah, because remember, what we call God is nature,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's an
That's
aspect of
that's a
nature.
hmm
And this is why, like, even when you look at the culture, whether it's referring to in the book of the garden, implying nature, or like when you looking at Gishnawa, when we talk about the tree of peace, and we would gather around the trees or by water, which has always been our customs,
yes.
you know, that we've abandoned, and then we start building houses and claiming that God was there type stuff, which is really not true in the sense that it's been projected to the people. When we would actually meditate, we go near water, on rocks, near trees,
Mm.
always. And this is where, like, even when the book talk about, meaning what it's really saying in the book, like, if we don't want to act right, then the rocks will cry out. But if we
That's right.
think that we're going to get around our responsibility to our connection to nature, we got another thought coming, whether we like it or not. However, we can willfully go along, and if we choose not to, you can have a brick upside your head, you know, and that'll convince you. And so the hybrid European is that brick upside our heads.
Yes, yes. For those of you who are just coming in, I saw where quite a few of you ask about Consul General Lamont Maurice L. And as Grand Sheik told you had shared at the beginning, he is at home. So we
Yeah,
will,
he's been home for a minute.
yeah, we
Like I
will
said
hear from
before,
him when he's ready. When he's
yeah,
ready.
like I said to you before, a lot of when he come, we'll let you know. But
Yeah.
like when you've seen a lot of people kept interjecting, trying to get us to talk, because remember, a lot of the enemies come like that,
Hmm.
and for security purposes, we didn't announce. If you get the point.
Right.
However,
Right.
I talked to him, and he's putting things together that were modified or altered, because what they did, because one of the things that they did when they put him in POW camps, they wanted to get a hold of his equipment, and what they was doing was
Taking
taking
it from
stuff
me.
off his computers and his flash drives and stuff, killing information. And so he's been doing some other things, try to regather some of the information. because I already knew, and you already knew that that he was a political prisoner. But for people who don't understand the operations of Unum Sanctum, are looking from the blind side of, oh, he did something wrong type thing, and therefore they're getting him, when the real deal is a lot of people still don't understand that was a political move. However, the outside world, as a matter of fact, I've gotten calls from people from outside jurisdictions, at least a couple of them, that was asking asking about him also from other political jurisdictions. So it's not, like I said before, it's not that they're not paying attention to us, but they also recognize there's a lot of people among our own that are traitors. So some things they say and some things they don't say, because they know that the only reason why the hybrid European here is still in power is because the number of traitors that we still have among our own.
Mm-hmm. And that's the sad part.
Well, it's what it is, but everybody around the world knows that the only reason why the hybrid Europeans here have been in power and able to conquer the world is because the Moors keep fighting the wars for them.
That's true.
Whether you're talking about the Buffalo Soldiers or the Red Tails
The
or
Vietnam
everything else that they
War,
keep.
the various wars, yeah, going and fighting on.
Exactly. Just like Hitler said to Churchill, you take them stovepipes. If you all took them stovepipes out of the war would kick your asses. That's what Hitler said to Churchill, because they already know the reason why these hybrids keep winning wars is because these Moors who keep wanting to be black Negroes keep fighting their wars for them. We keep winning the wars, and this is back to even our evolutionary development right now. When I say to the people, even a lot of people amongst our own, that would critique, why Taj keep on teaching civics, because that don't work and everything. It's to pull the demons out, including them. Is now manifesting, so I don't have to hide it no more. I never was expecting to restore, quote unquote, the republic. We're past that. We've been past that. I'm just clearing out some of the way for the people to prepare for the technology that's going to be smacking them in the face in short order. But they wouldn't let Rome go. So if you know how make Rome think that you're seeking a prize, and he spends a lot of energy to block you from getting the prize, when the real deal, you didn't want that shit anyway.
Yes. It's interesting. It's going to be interesting as we go forward, and we have to keep our eyes open, our hearts open. Again,
sincerity is key in all of this.
Right. Got to be, that you're not. It's not gonna. The game is not going to be played in your favor.
Because remember, that's where the energy is, and it's back to this, Dr. G, and it's not a criticism, and it don't mean that people shouldn't do it. People, whether they're dealing in any of the disciplines or in what they call what they've been calling spirituality, which is really the yoga techniques of breathing. The same way people don't know that spirituality is yoga techniques of breathing only. That's what spirituality is. It's not the Gnostic philosophy itself. It's yoga techniques of breathing to activate the cellular energies of the DNA, to put them in a vibrational state, to connect to higher dimensional energies, to receive energy packages that people have been calling the Gnostic wisdom, or what you call ethereal knowledge, which is really energy packages. Now, that's the real truth. And it's never been what they thought that the priesthood have told them it is. This is why sincerity is so important, because that's how those ports are opened. The energy is the sincerity. The ritual is a reminder, but the energy is activated by sincerity. People have made it complex. It's really simple. If you watch this is why when you watch us over so many generations, this is why some of the higher beings sometimes laugh at us because we go through all these rituals to make shit so complex when it's just simple sincerity. It's actually so simple, even a child can do it. This is why the hybrids always concentrate on attacking the children at a young age to put them into a dogma mentality to shut down their energy of natural gate openings that comes with them when they're here. And it's why you think they start drugging these children very early and start teaching them what you call dogmatic angles of fairy tales to start shutting their intuitive mind down. Because the real deal, their mind is open to other dimensions already. And so they teach them to Job or to Job, which actually steals their consciousness to the gateways. In other words, and we're not talking about from a juvenile perspective, but if most of these adults, so-called, maintain their childhood mind, they'd be surprised how powerful they'd be. This is why it's often said in the Gnostic wisdom that that when it mentions here and there in different parables or different statements, where it tries to direct us back to the keys to the gateways, and they say for the mind of a child would see the way, or that even a child would understand or comprehend, because dealing with the purity of thought, which implies what I just said, sincerity. The priesthood makes this stuff so complex that our people keep on doing all these rituals and making golden vessels and jeweled doorways, and they start twisting their bodies left and sideways and all this stuff, thinking that they're reaching the higher dimensions, and all they needed was simple sincerity. Meanwhile, the priesthood robbed them while they're going through all these rituals and then selling them things. And we deserved it. We deserved it for going away from our intuitive mind. We earned the bullshit that we caught. And when we humble ourselves, and that don't mean let somebody be somebody's rugs. When we get our egos out of the way and get back to the simplicities of life and stop letting material things own us, use material things, don't let them own you. And then get to keeping your life simple.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it means when it's talked about purity of heart. Doesn't mean you reject third dimensional things. Is that you don't engulf your mind in running after material things. They're always around you. They're tools. And leave them in that area. Make them more than tools, then you get caught in the matrix.
You're so true. You're telling the truth. That is so true.
This stuff is really so simple. And and they say, well, how do you do this? Why don't you just stop all this stuff and just be sincere? And part of that energy is where Yeshua said, when he says, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you, that implies, don't wish evil on others and you won't get it. That's simple. So you want to get Rome? You want to get rid of Rome? Stop supporting what you mean. Love that which is right and love to get rid of wrong, while at the same time battling your own lower self. At the same time, and never taking the position of being self-righteous.
Well, I believe you give us an excellent example of that, of not being, self-righteous, self-exalted. There are folks, sometimes I would talk to them and I would go, Grand Sheik is one of the most humble people that I will say that I've known. And I know people who have learned from you, who have exalted themselves in a sense, or at least they think so in their own mind, above what you even, you would even consider yourself. You're probably one of the most humble, like you said, when we first came on, you telling me about the two new cats, you know, people, yeah, that you acquired. Folks don't know, animals and babies
Mhm.
are, you know, can get to your heart. You know what I mean? And just like your people in general, for our people, your people in general, that's where your heart is. Your heart is, okay, what can I do? What can I give? What can I render, if they will, if you will? What can I render unto, this being and that being? And I, sometimes, I will ask you to explain something for somebody, and you're in the midst of doing something. You'll stop what you're doing to give that individual the time and the knowledge that they, you feel they need. And I normally then have to drag you away because
Mhm.
you still teaching when we know we got to go. But that's where your heart is, Grand Sheik. You know what I mean? And I appreciate you, and I'm sure those watching know over the years, they can feel, if you have never met Grand Sheik in person, then I'm sure you feel him. But those of you on the live that have met him, you know how he is. You know he's one of the most humble persons that people that you would ever meet. So I am honored, and even for you to be on tonight, it wasn't. I called you. You had just gotten in, like maybe 10 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes before I said, "Hey, you want to come on with me?" Because I didn't even put your name on the banner, because I was just going to give them a few updates and get off. But they all, somebody says, well, bring Grand Sheik back. But I wanted to let them know nicely that this is office hours. This is
Yeah.
office hours with Dr. G. So, this is, so tonight you became my impromptu guest, but you're really not my guest. You're my brother, my big brother, and my confidant, my friend. And I have learned so much from you in these last 11, is it 11, almost, we're going on 12
Yeah,
years
12
now.
years.
It'll be 12 years next month. It was October, no,
No,
it
it's
was
12, it's
this
actually
month.
12
This
going
month.
on 13, because it's what, late
No,
210
it was
to 11
2011
to
in
11.
September, and then you came and you started teaching in
Yes,
October. Right,
yes.
of that, yeah. So, but in that period of time, I didn't get it right at the beginning, but I felt like I needed to keep listening, or I needed to keep having you come to give the people who were coming, who did know about you, who did know about not being Negro, Black, and colored, that venue was there. I'm trying to rebuild and so forth. So folks are coming in here because they wanted to hear you, and in the process, fooled around, and knowledge came in by osmosis. Because remember, I told you it took me a minute, and then when people started
And
calling me, and I found myself answering questions, and I was like,
in
"Oh,
reality, in reality, a lot of it you already had. Just gave you another look at what you already had.
where's that coming from?" But
You
I
know,
mean, I just say all that to say, you are appreciated. I appreciate you for coming. On I know you're tired. You've been working for the last couple of weeks on the project. Away from home, and then I called you, and I knew you were gonna have a little bit of a break, at least from this. At least I told you you
yeah,
would. But we know that you all want to hear as much as possible. And I'm also grateful that you were able to confirm, because I really didn't know. I was, that he was home. I'll be honest with you. Maybe because I
I
normally
just
get
came back
spoke up.
because I had to I had
It's
to I had to do some plumbing, some electric, and install a well bladder on the well down at um down
the
at Buena Vista.
community center. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I had to restore a well bladder and change check valves and pressure valves on the well. So because they down there, they got well water.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I was doing. I got to go back down there soon, but I'll be coming back down your way for at least a couple days to do what we have to do. You already know what I have to do. You'll be out of
Right.
town,
Right.
and then I got to go back up my brother's. So I had to do a lot of work up there, some electrical work up there, because he's going to sell the house and everything. So the house is worth now 4 times what it was when he acquired it.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's because of all the additions that you put on there. So, but I thank you and appreciate you and appreciate those of you. I mean, gosh, um, what can I say? I mean, I'm in a position where a lot of people would love to be able to, pick up the phone and call you anytime or, you know, be in your presence. We hanging out, shopping, and
And vice versa. I can pick up the phone and call you. You know Dr. G? Yeah, I know Dr. G.
yeah, no, no. So you no
We
no
got
no
plenty.
we no we
Yeah.
we're and going forward, we're trying to plan a big
Yeah.
event next April. So I'm just trying to get the venue um solidified so that folks will be able to come to a big place and we could have a lot more people to come and hear you in person and have some other speakers and presentations and so forth. We just want to we appreciate those of you who are um, uh, signing up for our various things that we're doing, our 40/40 Legacy Club. We're still soliciting your membership for the 40/40 Legacy. We got to get this place here where I'm sitting. We got to
Mhm.
get it finished and we got to get it maintained. And so we need
Mhm.
to be able to do that. I appreciate those of you. If you missed last Tuesday with Dr. Mark Armstrong, it was a powerful presentation, but it was a free presentation. But if you missed it, then unless you're a 40/40 Legacy member, you had to you could purchase the replay for $2.99. All our replays will be $2.99 from now on for things that when we do it like that.
Yeah.
However, if you are a 40/40 Legacy member, you already signed up for a recurring donation of 40 notes or more to the House of Reawakening Minds, and you won't automatically get the link. But if you email me, I will send you the link, the Legacy member. You know who you are. So if you want the replay link, then certainly want to make sure we
Mhm.
get that to you. But we do appreciate the fact that
Uh,
you were on and it was a lot. I know Grant, she got to send you the link so you can see it. It was a good
Yeah.
presentation. We got to show some demonstrations and the patches. Like I'm wearing a pain patch right now because
Mhm.
for the that. But we had a
Your
really good presentation.
your hair has grown about 2.5 inches since I seen you.
Oh wow, yeah, that's I don't know.
Well, in
That's
case you didn't notice it, I noticed it.
okay. Well, maybe it's I was in the hot Key West sun, and then of course, using my product. It's a,
Yeah.
it's probably a plus. But yeah. So we're going to be doing some more presentations like we did last Tuesday because that was really
Mhm.
good when we were talking about health and wellness. If we move it into this next dimension, we have to do it in a healthy manner, healthy mindset, healthy
Exactly.
body, healthy spirit, if you will. And so we
And
are going to be doing
everybody,
Dr.
everybody.
Mark and I are going to be doing some more presentations so that we can get ourselves and our loved ones healthy. We a lot of some folks are compromised, and I believe that some Moors, they did this because they needed to keep their jobs at the time, but now that that was not a good thing to do, and it's so funny because now they've just stepping it up even more. Even more.
Mhm.
You
And
need to,
they're gonna come at them again.
yeah,
And,
yeah. So
and again, what but this is again where, you know, we're not, trying to knock anybody, but it's still separating wheat from the chaff.
right,
They keep supporting Rome, and Rome is going to be taking them out.
right,
So
right.
you can't take it personal. You got to look at it, whether our people recognize it or not, or acknowledge it or not. Rome is on their mission, and if the people don't recognize yet that they're the enemy of humanity, that's their choice. But Rome is making it clearer and clearer than day. And if they stay in denial, they can count on not being here.
That's true. That is
And
so
if they
true.
are here, the quality of their life will reduce so horribly that they'll want to leave.
Well, with Dr. Mark, who was on last week, one of the things that he does have is a what's called a oh my God, well, it's like equivalent to the med bed type uh pod that you can get in, but he's got so many different modalities. To some of them he and I both do, AO scan, super patch, the
Mhm.
the blower. We all do the same thing, but then he goes deeper. He's a hypnotherapist and
Oh yeah.
qigong master and herbalist, and so he's able to take all of those modalities and find out what it is that is will best work to solve a particular. I mean, he even takes people back in lifetimes to get to the
Hmm.
root of where, from a, if you were
To fix things. Yes.
yeah, from an epigenetic standpoint, a lot of times we're carrying, I talked about it last week, traumas that came from somebody
And
in our families.
most of us have it.
Right. And
There's
we
very
don't
few
know.
that
We
don't
don't
have
know
it.
where it came from. We don't know
Yeah.
where, we don't know like oh, wait a minute. Let me just, that made me think. So a sister, she may be on this call. A sister called me last week. I think I was in Florida at the time, and she is in the I think in the DC territory,
Hmm.
and she's been tracing. And I hope Sister LaChris, who's a genealogy research specialist, but she's tracing her genealogy, and
Hmm.
she got back, I think, to her great great grandmother and found out, she was I guess, was she deemed in the paper either mulatto, Indian, something like that. She was trying to get some kind of documentation on her
Hmm.
great great grandmother and was told, this is the kicker, was told that they were not going to could not give her any information on her great great grandmother, because it's like, because as far as they're concerned, your great great is not related to you, is no longer related to you. So they don't have to give records that go back that far. Have you ever heard of this?
Hmm.
So see, the great
But
great going back into the
remember,
18th.
remember when to tell you is to tell you the truth.
Yeah, they said, yeah, and so she said, I paid the fiat anyway, that you would get the paperwork, and I gave it to somebody else, and she said the next person called it and said, oh no, we can't do this, and gave her back the $18 and said, we can't give you that record because it's for the way it goes now. Great great, we cut you off at great, and you can't.
Exactly
You're
why.
not because of
Because
what's on those records.
remember what we always said. The major effort to start modifying the records is the mid 1800s.
Yes.
See, because no different. Remember, I showed you on my other phone that got messed up, and I showed you Cousin Truth's um, the death certificate of his great uncle.
Mhm.
I think I showed you because I had a screenshot of it. I'll get it from him again. That was on my other phone because
Okay.
on his death certificate of his great uncle is Moorish.
Hmm. They don't want you to get that.
So then the people start recognize they're at Morocco. You got to remember, because remember, the whole key of their politics today is the people think that the U.S. is a country and that America is a country, not a continent, and that the conquest and the fall of the world in the modern world is the conquest of the Moors.
Hmm.
That is to be remain. Mum is the word. That's what the
Mom's
mum
the
was
word.
created.
Yeah.
All of this stuff is in the people's faces. And then you got to look at the issue, which everybody knows, though people deny it while they know it. Our people hate themselves. So when they get into the real history, they start going into denial.
Yep.
But at the
But I mean,
same
that is
time,
so blatant. That is
it
so
is
blatant.
blatant.
But it's like, how are you going to tell me that my great great grandparent is not my relative?
See, because remember, it flips the world. Because remember, the whole world, the whole idea is the politics, is the theft of the estate. Because the Columbus story, which was a military operation, everything falls apart. They're not trying to dismantle their politics, because that includes not just the economic system, that includes their perception of world history, all of which is a lie. Because remember, the power of the greater power part of their power is that we believe in them. When we stop believing in them, they lose their power. Because the power is fiat. What is fiat based in? Blind faith.
It's true.
And it is really simple, but our people think it's complex. The problems that it has caused are complex. And so people think that the root knowledge is complex. It isn't. It's called reconstruction.
It's true.
What
and
does
they call
re
it what
mean?
they call it what it is. They call it exactly what they've done.
Reconstruction. But they always leave. They like you said before, and a lot of people say it, and while they're saying it, they're not even looking at what they're saying. Reconstruction. What does reconstruct mean? Read means to do again. What does construct mean? To build, to assemble. What is happening in the world is that the rest of the world is deconstructing the reconstruction that has its root in North America that's damaged the whole planet. That's what's going on. They're undoing the damage of unum sanctum, i.e. the U.S. And they're doing it on not just a political level, but on a metaphysical level first. And they weren't looking. They're looking at, quote unquote, monetary trade. And the Manchurians have been operating first on a metaphysical level. They got blindsided. It's sort of like they've been in power so long that they got convinced that they couldn't be pulled down. And while it's happening, they're still in a state of denial.
Well, it's obvious, Grand Sheik, that the operation is bigger than the 10 square miles that have been given. Well, what I'm saying is because they are actually pulling things apart themselves also. So we know that there are other outside, just like I heard Brother Abdullah say on a podcast that he was interviewed on. He was saying about reparations. He said you can't just go after the U.S. for reparations without including France, Spain, Portugal, and what he's saying that they carried on the U.S.
This is what people need to understand.
Right, they carried on what was started somewhere, and so it means we are still connected to that. Although we think we are independent.
Back to what back to what we were talking about the last time, when I mentioned Niger and Gabon.
Mm-hmm.
That is part of the action. Because remember, people keep thinking the U.S. is a country. The U.S. is unum sanctum operations of France, Germany. The U.S. is their military operations. It's not a country, never was a country. Is that people need to make discernment.
Yeah.
And what he's saying is true. But people need to understand, when you're saying France and Germany and the UK, you're saying the U.S.
Right.
People got to get it out of their head that it's a country. It is the conglomerate corporations of hybrid Europe. Treaty of Verona. The war against the Moors. It includes what? The Germanic tribes, plural. This is why every praetor who comes into that office, the first thing they must do is make their pledge to the artificial Jew called Isis, Amen Ra, Elohim, Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows it's fake. But if they want to be praetor, that's their first pledge, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, that's what it is. They ain't got a damn thing to do with religion. It's the Khazarian operations of Unum Sanctum, which includes all of those, what they call themselves, the Western Bloc.
Hmm.
Sometimes they refer to themselves as G7, even though all the seven don't have powers. Some of them are conquered proxies. The Security Council is the one that really make the decisions, which is limited to United States, Britain, France type thing.
Okay.
And not Japan and all them, even though they're part of the G7. They're only proxy. When you know the workings of the priesthood of the Circle Church and Chancery, you know the politics. And even though it gets boring, that's why we keep, over the years, keep throwing it up, because those are the keys. The other stuff that people are giving are distractions. See, as long as the people can be distracted, they're scattered with their energy output. If you keep reminding them of the key pieces on the board, the priesthood can't hide, and they keep trying to hide or attack, and in doing so, they expose themselves. Because remember, they create very little. They steal and alter.
Absolutely, absolutely. Someone asked what's going to happen when they fall.
They're falling now. And you're being prepared to do what? Inherit the earth.
Will we be the meek?
Well, that's what it's referred to. That's why sincerity is key. Because without sincerity, you can't be meek. And meek doesn't mean humble in the sense that people mean. That means people are sincere and to the level that your heart is pure enough that it can be cleansed the rest of the way necessary to clean up and help restore the contaminated earth. And people with a dirty heart can't do that.
That's right.
That's what it really means. And it doesn't mean that the people are goody, goody, goody. It doesn't mean that. That means you're clean enough to be worthy.
Mm-hmm.
And so the cleanliness is in the heart. That means intent. What is your real intention? What is your real will? See, because everybody say, Lord, 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 don't they?
Yeah.
Everybody be saying, that's a business, isn't it? Big time business, ain't it?
Yeah,
So
I guess it is.
you got real, and you got mostly fakers. So people support it because people can be fooled. But you can't fool Mother Nature. That's what's going on now on the planet.
You don't think some of that, though, is being helped by man and technology?
We got some outside help.
Yeah, some technology. So,
Yeah, we got some outside help. You know, I don't emphasize that because it's like this. Why talk about the dark side of the moon when we ain't cleaned up Broad Street, if you get the point?
mm.
That's why you don't see me talking about the other sides. That ain't nothing new, is it?
No.
But when you start talking about people started doing what? Putting their energy there, then that's not where their energy should be. Their energy should be placed on cleaning up this house to be worthy to even go anywhere else.
Absolutely. You're right.
Because you're being prepared to clean this place up. Well, let's go to the crystal mine of the dark side of Venus. Get off it, because you ain't. You get the point.
Yeah.
Makes good conversation though, doesn't it? People like that kind of stuff, don't they?
Well,
Makes interesting conversation.
but you know what they say, talk is cheap.
Yeah, that so therefore, what does that imply when you say talk is cheap? That means people say a lot of stuff. Where is the truth of their heart?
Right.
It lies in sincerity. And then it's measured by Mother Nature, not by the politics that we play with each other. And she don't play. And she's pissed off right now too. And people have gotten used to playing this game of profession and going through rituals. You know, this is why, like in the Bible, when they talk about these people making all this big hoopla about praying to God and all that kind of stuff, and that the divine ones really have more respect for the one that goes in the closet, hidden from the world, and sincerely makes prayer. This stuff is simple. People just, we've been such, what we've been perfecting is our hypocrisy.
That's sad. It's sad.
And polishing it. So we're put in the position now that we are going to be forced to admit it, and then start really doing some real shadow work for real.
Yes.
Without all the hoopla, without all the ritual, without the sacrifice of birds and animals, without contaminating the earth, and without being greedy. And that decision is ours to do.
I mean,
However,
you know, I want to say to you that that what you're saying rings a bell, because whether it happens or not, everybody is talking about the reset and going to cash out and do all of this stuff with their, you know, the currencies they have. What we're told is that you got to have humanitarian projects. You know, we not. They don't want to just, if
now
it's going to happen, they're not
doesn't
just
that
going to
go
give
to
you. Yeah,
sincerity?
yeah, they're not going to give you resources so that you can say, "Oh, what? Look, I'm a fat rich cat." No. What humanitarian projects do you have? You Are you
Exactly.
already put on the drawing board that you're going to carry out if you're given
So
this? Yeah,
project and projection means outside of self, doesn't it?
absolutely,
There we
absolutely,
go.
absolutely.
And everybody been saying that, Lord, 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 but their hearts are far removed. And that's fine. They've been getting away with it. What they need to recognize with the aquarian lights, that shit ain't going.
Mm.
You know, and people, we've gotten so used to protecting our hypocrisy in the name of the rituals of religion, that we forgot that Mother Nature sees and doesn't measure us by all bullshit that we learn to dress up for, get all beautiful, garbed up, and do all these rituals. And Mother Nature is sickened by it. All it takes is a little simplicity. Love is simple. They make it complex to try to impress people. Well, you ain't impressing Mother Nature, because she measures by merit alone. She don't recognize person or station.
Mm.
She recognizes merit alone. And the merit is on the abstract level. You can see some of its reflections in the third dimensional physical level, yes, but its being is in fifth dimensional limit. It's just that people forgot that they're dimensional beings.
Yeah.
But you already know that.
It is interesting. You have to look. Yes, Yes. We're in a really good place. We're in a good space, and when you have your mind set there instead of where they want your mind to be, that's how you transcend and ascend
Exactly.
beyond some things. And so when you're in fear and worry and doubt and consternation, all those things that life wants to pile on you to keep you in a lower.
This is
um
why they put so much energy into controlling the narrative. It's important to them because remember, if they don't control the narrative, they lose power.
yeah,
Because it's back to what? Blind faith.
right.
And so the people still think that the power is in the fiat. No, the fiat is only a cover. It's a weapon
I get
for
it.
that
I
which they
get
do
it.
not see.
Yeah. Yeah, I
And
get
people
it.
got to look beyond that.
And we have to, you know what, Greshik, we have to start doing better at valuing each other. Like I love the one simple word namaste. And some folks say it, they don't know what it means because they say it because it, seems like it's, apropos to say it. But when you get into the meaning of it, it basically, and people say it different ways, but I say it, if there's a God, the God in me sees and recognizes God in you. So I see your divinity like you see my divinity. And so we are one in the same. And when you do that, that goes back to that one you said, do unto others and all that stuff. Or when as kind of off the wall as Nature Boy, because I've interviewed him before, it is and has been the fact that his phrase of calling everybody reflection was accurate because we are a reflection of one another. A lot of times we don't even like what the reflection is, but we're not liking something in ourselves, and
That's
so
why
we
we
can
don't
stop.
take it personal. That's why,
Right,
don't take it personal and, analyze, but never take, try to correct, but don't take what you call take things too personal.
absolutely, absolutely.
And
But we have
always
to.
focus on, you don't let people walk over you, but you don't dwell on things that they do negative. You just
Right.
keep on working on your doing your own shadow work in order to change the atmosphere around you.
Right, because it's not really so much as what is done to us, it is how we respond to what was done.
Exactly,
Is
because all of
that
it's part of the equation of the interconnection of all things.
right, right. So I get it. I so get it. And I'm so again, I am happy to that you were able to come on. I wanted to and I didn't get a chance to make anything, and I don't know if you guys can see this if I hold my phone up. I'm using my fingers on this tablet. It's kind of clear though, but to be a tablet, it's clearer than the computer would have been if I had it with me. But I'm putting this banner up for this book. Black People Are Dead in Law by the brother. He was on the show. Brother Issa Rael.
Hmm.
I don't know if I can get it clear enough for you guys to see in this kind of. I don't know if I'm doing this right. I didn't get a chance to. I don't know if I'm doing it right. Trying to get an angle so you can see
Yeah,
him.
kind of like that. That's more surface.
Can you see it
Move
now?
it back just a little. No, turn it back like you had it. Turn it a little
There
bit.
we go. There he
Yeah,
is.
there you
Our
go.
brother transition. He's the author of the book that and that's Sister Cynthia Martinell does. She's the publisher and sells that book. You see, black people are dead in law. I believe that's the book for him.
Hmm.
Yeah. So he
And
transitioned.
this is
Um,
where people need to understand that it's a status. It's
right.
not
So
a complexion.
well, I'm just saying it's so his memorial service is going to be on Monday, the 25th in Washington D.C. And I, unfortunately, of course, I'm not going to be around, but I wanted to put this up. And also, if you were interested in purchasing the book, I mean, the brother is, I did have him on the show about a year and a half or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you know him from going down to the uh, Everlasting Life.
Yeah, Ali notified me already. Yeah.
Right. So I wanted to just to give, for you all to keep his family in your thoughts and in prayers. And also I wanted to run that under there for the book that is available. Um, and he's written that book, and actually, along with his ghostwriter, I'm gonna have to give credit where credit is due. So
Mm-hmm.
Sister Cynthia likes to stay in the background, but my sister had a hand in that book. So
Mm-hmm.
a big hand in that book. So, but anyway,
Yeah, she's
I
done
didn't.
so much work. Sister Cynthia's have done so much work on so many levels that people don't know about.
Yes, yes, yes. She likes to push other folk forward, but I'm just have to say what I have to say
Yeah.
about that. You
Anyway,
know. Yeah.
kudos and shout out to Sister Cynthia. Anyway,
Yes,
like we
actually,
love her.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yes.
So she and I are going to be on our journey as of Friday. We'll be away
My,
for
my
10
phone's getting
days.
ready. My phone's getting ready to shut out. It's lost charge.
Okay, listen.
Yes, it
Thank you
does.
so much. Thank
Yeah.
you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for coming on. I know you all are happy that he did. Let him know that you're happy that he came on and surprised you all and gave all this great information. He will be back on the whatever the first Friday of October, but on the first Tuesday of October. Now get the announcement you don't want to miss. I'm going to have Brother Abdullah Talib Mosi Bey from Moors and Masonry. He's going to be my guest, and we're going to have a great show. I heard an interview that he did, Grand Sheik. I told you he was it was like what do you call it? One of those podcasts, and I listened to it
Mm-hmm.
like 3 times while I was in Florida. I was so impressed, and so you know reached out to him, and he's going to come on the show. We're going to talk about it here, and you all
Mm-hmm.
don't want to miss that. So it'll be the 3rd of October when you will. But I may do some pop up on location uh, videos while we're out Midwest. And Brother Amir, if you're still on here, we are coming. We're gonna be in your area as a Friday. So hopefully we can connect and come out and see the land. But yeah, so we're hoping to bring back some really great footage of some opportunities also while we're out there in the Midwest. So thank you, Grand Sheik. Thank you,
All right.
you all, each and every one of y'all for being so good and being on this 500 and some plus of you. I am so excited. It only happened because you came on. Because you came on,
Well,
Gracie.
excuse my phone is blacking out right now.
All right, okay, we're gonna let you go. We're gonna let you go because I'm on this little crazy, not crazy, but I'm on this thing. I'm not on my computer,
All
and
right.
but it's done pretty good. Thank you, Grand Chic. Love
All right.
you,
Peace
love
and
you, love
love.
you, love you. Okay, all right, y'all. I'm not gonna hold you. We right at the 2 hour spot. So I'm going to I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna put this little thing up and play my song some kind of way and let y'all go. And thank you again for tuning into what I said I was going to talk about. Appreciate you. I appreciate you. And I will see you sometime in the next week or so when Sister Cynthia and I do some on location shooting in the next 10 days. Thank you.
Peace.
Peace, Grancy.
Dr. G. Really? Who's she? Yeah, that's me.
that's me.
Dr. G. Really? Who's she?
Yeah, 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 that's me.